I'm Jason with the All Things Open community. We are here with Cedric. We're going to talk about local LLMs, model compression, AI optimization, and a bunch more. Welcome to the studio. Please introduce yourself to the All Things Open community.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason. And yes, my name is Cedric. I'm an open source engineer and developer advocate at Red Hat. So just right down the road here. And I also, in New York City, where I live now, organize the Kubernetes Community Day. But I just love working in the Kubernetes space and the AI space now. I like to intersect those technologies, and I'm excited for the talk tomorrow and happy to be with you.
All right, well, let's jump right in. What's exciting about running local LLMs, and why is it important?
Yeah, man, I've been all over this for the past year or 2 years, just the concept of democratizing this technology. Because if we think about kind of the emergence of ChatGPT, this is a tech that could help us write better, help us build applications, do a lot of really cool things, but it was in this proprietary format, right? We're paying for an API, we're paying for a service. And so what I think is really awesome in the open space is that we can download models, we can run them on our own device, even a Raspberry Pi can run some of these 4 billion parameter models. And so I just think that ability for people who are maybe not as technical or who are improving their skills to be able to use open large language models, I just think that's a superpower, and especially that we can make it possible on consumer hardware, and we'll probably talk about this later with model compression. But I think that democratization of technology, especially right now in this year and the next coming years, is so exciting.
Fascinating. Love it, love it. What got you into model compression, and how does someone else get into it?
Yes, so model compression, surprisingly, we've probably used it before, and if you've used tools like llama or llama.cpp, which are these desktop local LLM providers and runtimes, you've actually used what's called a quantized model. So let's say that Meta or Google or one of these organizations release a model to the public, right? This is typically at floating point 32 or floating point 16 precision in the weights that they give you. And what you can do is apply machine learning methods in order to reduce that to a smaller size, like integer 8. So you still have the same model capacities and accuracy, but it's about half the size. And so if you're running, say, for example, that model on a Raspberry Pi or on my MacBook, it's already been quantized. But you can do this in all sorts of fashions. So activation weights, but also during runtime, and you can save a lot on GPU. You can save on how much infrastructure you need, which is really important, right? GPUs are in a lot of demand, and you can increase throughput. So when people are building RAG applications or AI agentic applications, they can make those apps run faster for a fraction of the price. So that is model compression.
Wow, thanks for explaining that. That's a lot of detail in there. There's a lot of discussion about AI's role in development. Do you think AI will replace developers?
Ooh, I feel like this is going to be a very hot topic this week. Here's my 2 cents on it, is that I've noticed, especially as I use like vibe coding or these different types of AI assisted tools, what's happening is I'm shifting less from a specialized developer who knows, Flask and different machine learning libraries in Python to like a PM instead, like a product manager, because now I'm running like 3 different agents. I've got an an architect agent who can help, scope out what I want to build and put that in a plan. And then I'll run simultaneously an implementation agent that takes that from a markdown file, starts writing that code into a branch. And then finally, we'll put a reviewing agent out there where it'll run tests, it'll evaluate that, it'll push that to a repository. And I'm now just kind of, I'm like in an orchestra, right? Instead of playing an instrument, I'm kind of, managing these different coding agents. And so I think there's really still the role of a developer, but it's more a generalistic perspective instead of deep down. And I think that's really cool, because now I understand more about these different roles like DevOps or user accessibility and interaction at the beginning. So I think it's going to help us all work together, and I think we're still going to need developers.
Sounds great. What existing technologies are critical for AI to succeed?
Ooh. The community. That's what's behind all of it, because if we didn't have a lot of these open source projects, like for example VLLM, which is something that me and my team work on at Red Hat, well, that's an inference runtime, and that helps you utilize your GPU much more effectively, right? It's an open source project, but it's used by Google, it's used by TikTok, it's used by DeepSeek, all of these different projects that are kind of advancing the state of AI, and this is all an open source project. So I think if we don't have the community and we don't have these different projects for specific niches, then we don't have anything. So it's about bringing people together, bringing these ideas together. That's what All Things Open is about. That's what your podcast is about. So it's all about the people.
Cool. We're going to change gears just a little bit. What's a new tool that you've been using lately to boost your own productivity?
That's a good question. So I've noticed for my own productivity that, I feel like vibe coding is big, right? MCP servers for AI agents are also big to connect to my email, my calendar. But my biggest thing is, maybe it's because of the school I went to, but I didn't really learn how to type that well. And so my limitation is how many words per minute I can do. And instead of fixing that, I'm now using like a dictation software. So there's various types of like Apple dictation that's built in on the Macs, or Super Whisper, which is a paid project. But there's different ways to use your microphone and an AI model to take your audio to speech, and that's kind of taking away that bottleneck to vibe code, or to create email summaries, or all of these tasks I need to do, and I can't get enough words per minute out. I'm using one of these audio to text tools.
Cool. Right on. Do you have a tip, a best practice, or any career advice that you could share with the All Things Open community?
Ooh, okay. I'm definitely not as far into my career, right? But what I think of as something that I want to remind people to do is, one, to be kind, right? It's just to give positivity and you receive positivity. And then two is make sure to use these AI tools to keep learning. So a lot of people use Notebook LLM, which is that Google kind of take your PDFs and get a podcast out of it tool. But there's just a lot of ways to, say, for example, combine these MCP agents to search the web and then to do research for you and to learn new subjects that I've always wanted to learn. So this, for me, last week was roller coasters. Now I'm like a roller coaster novice expert, right? But when we're learning about technologies, you can really deep dive into documentation the way that you want, right? Because not everyone learns by going through like an API page and understanding, hey, what do I want to call? But you can learn by, interactive resources, questioning and answering with the model. So I think using these AI tools to learn and develop your skills, right, is such a cool tip.
Sounds great. All right, Cedric, are you ready for the hot fix minute?
Let's do it.
Okay. Linux, Mac, or Windows?
Linux. I started with Arch and Mint Linux, but I use Mac now, so
Okay.
I'm in the middle.
Books, movies, or podcasts?
Oh, books for sure. Yeah.
Pizza, salad, or tacos?
Tacos. ¿Por qué no?
Rock, country, or hip hop?
We're in the South. I'll say country.
Star Wars, Star Trek, or stargazing?
Stargazing. Get the whole thing here.
Android or iPhone?
They got you here.
Boom. Chat, GPT, Claude, or Gemini?
Oh, Claude. I love Claude.
The future of AI is helper bots or a robot takeover?
I hope it's helper bots.
All right, Cedric, you survived the hot fix minute. Thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.